Missouri is a U.S. state centrally located, where eastern timberlands meet western prairies and southern cotton fields meet northern corn fields. The state's name comes from a local indigenous tribe. Admitted to the Union as the 24th state in 1821, Missouri played a key role in westward expansion, serving as the eastern end of the Santa Fe and Oregon trails. The state's diverse artistic landscape ranges from fine art and music in St. Louis and Kansas City to the traditional arts of the Ozark Mountains. Manufacturing and service sectors drive Missouri's economy, with aerospace and transportation equipment production being particularly significant. The government consists of executive, legislative, and judicial branches. Missouri is a state located in the United States. It is positioned near the center of the country and shares borders with 8 other states. To its north is Iowa, and across the Mississippi River to the east are Illinois, Kentucky, and Tennessee. Arkansas lies to its south, while Oklahoma, Kansas, and Nebraska are to its west. The Missouri River bisects the state, flowing from Kansas City in the west through Jefferson City, the state's capital, and eastward to just above St. Louis, where it meets the Mississippi River. The region north of the Missouri River features gently rolling hills and fertile plains due to past glaciation. South of the river, much of the state lies within the Ozark Mountains. Missouri experiences variable winds and a climate influenced by cold Canadian air, warm, moist air from the Gulf of Mexico, and drier air from the southwest. Missouri's important commerce and manufacturing centers are Kansas City and St. Louis. They anchor large metropolitan areas, with Kansas City extending into Kansas and St. Louis reaching into Illinois. Springfield is a growing secondary air hub that caters to tourists and the growing economy of southwest Missouri. More than half of Missouri's population resides in the Kansas City and St. Louis areas. Smaller towns near big cities have been absorbed into metropolitan areas because of ever-expanding infrastructure. In contrast, numerous small villages face economic stagnation as the rural population declines. The Missouri River and the Mississippi River are important rivers that flow through Missouri. The Missouri River, nicknamed the Big Muddy, is the longest tributary of the Mississippi River and the second longest river in North America. It flows eastward across west-central Missouri before heading southeast to Jefferson City. The Mississippi River flows southward along Missouri's eastern border, connecting waterborne traffic with New Orleans. Other rivers in Missouri include the Osage, Grand, Gasconade, and Chariton rivers. Many of Missouri's largest lakes, such as the Lake of the Ozarks on the Osage River, were created by damming rivers and streams to furnish hydroelectric power, prevent flooding, and offer recreational resources. Missouri boasts a variety of cultural and natural attractions. The Gateway Arch in St. Louis symbolizes the city's role in westward expansion, commemorating the Louisiana Purchase and the Lewis and Clark Expedition. The Lake of the Ozarks, a vast artificial lake in south-central Missouri, offers ample fishing and aquatic sports opportunities. The Ozark Mountains, with their extensive forests, underground streams, and springs, provide a scenic landscape for tourism and outdoor activities. Other cultural landmarks include the Nelson Atkins Museum of Art in Kansas City, known for its Asian art collection, and the Harry S. Truman Library and Museum in Independence. Missouri is a landlocked state in the Midwestern region of the United States. Ranking 21st in land area, it borders Iowa to the north, Illinois, Kentucky and Tennessee to the east, Arkansas to the south and Oklahoma, Kansas, and Nebraska to the west. With over 6 million residents, it is the 19th most populous state of the country. The largest urban areas are St. Louis, Kansas City, Springfield, and Columbia. The capital is Jefferson City. Humans have inhabited present-day Missouri for at least 12,000 years. The Mississippian culture, which emerged in the 9th century, built cities with pyramidal and other ceremonial mounds before declining in the 14th century. The indigenous Osage and Missourian nations inhabited the area when European people arrived in the 17th century. The French incorporated the territory into Louisiana, founding St. Genevieve in 1735 and St. Louis in 1764. After a brief period of Spanish rule, the United States acquired Missouri as part of the Louisiana Purchase in 1803. Americans from the upland South rushed into the new Missouri Territory, taking advantage of its productive agricultural plains. Missouri played a central role in the westward expansion of the United States. Missouri was admitted as a slave state as part of the Missouri Compromise of 1820. As a border state, Missouri's role in the American Civil War was complex, and it was subject to rival governments, raids, and guerrilla warfare. After the war, both Greater St. Louis and the Kansas City metropolitan area became large centers of industrialization and business. Today the state is divided into 114 counties and the independent city of St. Louis. Missouri has been called the gateway to the West, the mother of the West, the cave state, and the show me state. Its culture blends elements of the Midwestern and Southern United States. It is the birthplace of the musical genres ragtime, Kansas City jazz and St. Louis blues. The well-known Kansas City-style barbecue, and the lesser-known St. Louis-style barbecue, can be found across the state and beyond. Missouri is a major center of beer brewing and has some of the most permissive alcohol laws in the U.S. It is home to Anheuser-Busch, the world's largest beer producer, and produces Missouri wine, especially in the Missouri Rhineland. Outside the state's major cities, popular tourist destinations include the Lake of the Ozarks, Table Rock Lake and Branson. Some of the largest companies based in the state include Cerner, Express Scripts, Monsanto, Emerson Electric, Edward Jones, H&R Block, Wells Fargo Advisors, Centene Corporation, and O'Reilly Auto Parts. Well-known universities in Missouri include the University of Missouri, St. Louis University, and Washington University in St. Louis. Missouri is a landlocked state situated in the Midwestern region of the United States, occupying a geographically central position that has profoundly influenced its historical development, cultural identity, and economic evolution. Because of its location near the confluence of the American Midwest, South, and Great Plains, Missouri has long functioned as a transitional space where different regional identities overlap and interact. This positioning has given the state a distinctive character shaped by diversity in landscape, people, and economic activity. From its river valleys and fertile plains to its rolling Ozark hills, Missouri presents a varied geography that has supported agriculture, transportation, settlement, and industry for centuries. The state's identity cannot be separated from its physical environment, as the Missouri and Mississippi rivers have historically served as lifelines for trade, migration, and communication. Long before European contact, the region was home to numerous indigenous peoples, including the Osage, Missouria, Illini, and Sioux communities. These societies developed complex cultural, political, and economic systems deeply connected to the land and waterways. The rivers were not only sources of food and transportation but also served as crucial networks for trade and intertribal interaction. The Missouria people, from whom the state takes its name, were particularly associated with river-based life, and their name has been interpreted as people with wooden canoes, reflecting their deep relationship with waterways. Indigenous presence in the region laid the foundational human geography upon which later colonial and American settlement would develop. The arrival of European explorers in the 17th and 18th centuries marked the beginning of a new era in Missouri's history. French explorers and traders established early contact with indigenous communities, integrating the region into broader colonial trade networks associated with New France and later Spanish administration. These early interactions were largely centered on the fur trade, which depended heavily on river routes. European influence gradually expanded, though indigenous societies remained central actors in the region's social and economic life during this period. Cultural exchange, cooperation, and conflict all shaped early Missouri history, setting the stage for later incorporation into the United States. A defining moment in Missouri's transformation came in 1803 with the Louisiana Purchase, through which the United States acquired vast territories west of the Mississippi River from France. This acquisition doubled the size of the young nation and opened Missouri to rapid American migration and settlement. As settlers moved westward, Missouri became a critical frontier region, serving as both a destination and a departure point for expansion further into the continent. In 1821, Missouri was admitted to the Union as the 24th state under the Missouri Compromise, a legislative agreement designed to maintain the balance between slave and free states. This compromise underscored Missouri's early role as a politically and geographically transitional space between North and South, a position that would continue to shape its identity for decades. During the 19th century, Missouri developed into a key frontier and transportation hub. The Missouri River and Mississippi River functioned as major arteries for commerce, enabling the movement of agricultural products, manufactured goods, and people. Cities such as St. Louis and Kansas City emerged as major centers of trade and settlement. St. Louis, in particular, became known as the gateway to the West, serving as a launching point for explorers, traders, and settlers moving into Western territories. The Lewis and Clark expedition began near St. Louis, further embedding Missouri into the narrative of American expansion and exploration. Kansas City also grew rapidly due to its strategic location at the confluence of transportation routes, eventually becoming a major rail and distribution hub. The Civil War era deeply affected Missouri, reflecting its complex position between North and South. Although the state remained in the Union, it was sharply divided in loyalty, with strong Unionist and Confederate sympathies existing side by side. This internal division led to significant violence, guerrilla warfare, and political instability throughout the war. Missouri's experience of the Civil War was particularly intense compared to many other states, as its population was directly involved in both formal military conflict and irregular warfare. The aftermath of the war left lasting scars but also set the stage for reconstruction and long-term economic transformation. In the decades following the Civil War, Missouri expanded its industrial and agricultural base. Agriculture remained central to the state's economy, with crops such as corn, wheat, and soybeans becoming major outputs. Livestock farming, especially cattle and poultry production, also played an important role. At the same time, industrialization accelerated in urban centers, with manufacturing, railroads, and mining contributing to economic growth. Rail infrastructure became especially important, connecting rural areas to national markets and reinforcing Missouri's role as a transportation nexus. Cities expanded rapidly, attracting migrants from rural areas and other states in search of employment opportunities. Throughout the 20th century, Missouri underwent significant social and economic transformation. Industrial growth continued in the early decades, with cities such as St. Louis and Kansas City becoming centers of manufacturing, shipping, and finance. St. Louis developed a strong industrial base, while also emerging as a cultural center known for music, arts, and sports. Kansas City became famous for its jazz scene, barbecue cuisine, and role as a transportation hub. Jazz music in particular flourished in Kansas City, influenced by African American communities whose cultural contributions shaped American music history. These urban cultural developments helped define Missouri's national cultural significance. At the same time, Missouri experienced shifts in its economic structure, particularly in the latter half of the 20th century. Like many Midwestern states, it saw a gradual decline in traditional manufacturing due to globalization, automation, and industrial relocation. In response, Missouri transitioned toward a more diversified economy based on services, healthcare, education, logistics, insurance, and emerging technology sectors. This diversification helped stabilize the state's economy and reduce reliance on any single industry, although economic disparities between regions remained a persistent challenge. Agriculture, however, continued to be a foundational element of Missouri's identity. The state's fertile soil and varied climate support a wide range of agricultural activities, making it one of the most productive farming regions in the United States. Family farms coexist alongside large agribusiness operations, reflecting both tradition and modernization within the agricultural sector. Rural communities remain deeply tied to agricultural life, and farming continues to play a central role in the cultural and economic fabric of the state. Missouri's cultural identity is shaped by its position at the intersection of multiple American regions. Influences from the South, Midwest, and West are all present in its traditions, dialects, cuisine, and social customs. This blending of cultural influences has produced a unique identity that is neither entirely Southern nor entirely Midwestern, but a combination of both with additional frontier influences. Music, food, and storytelling traditions reflect this hybridity, creating a rich and diverse cultural environment across the state. Demographically, Missouri has evolved significantly over time. Initially dominated by European settlers, the state became increasingly diverse throughout the 20th and 21st centuries. African American communities have played a particularly important role in shaping Missouri's cultural, political, and economic life, especially in urban centers such as St. Louis and Kansas City. More recently, immigration from Latin America, Asia, and Africa has further diversified the population, contributing to changes in language, cuisine, and cultural practices. These demographic shifts continue to reshape Missouri's identity and social dynamics. Education has become a central pillar of Missouri's development strategy. Institutions across the state contribute to workforce training, research, and community engagement. One of the most significant institutions is the University of Missouri System, which operates multiple campuses across the state and serves as a major center for research and public service. Its flagship campus in Columbia is especially well known for journalism, agriculture, and medical research. Alongside it, Missouri State University in Springfield plays a key role in higher education in southwestern Missouri, supporting academic programs in business, education, health sciences, and public affairs. These institutions are essential in connecting local communities to broader national and global academic networks. In the modern era, Missouri continues to evolve economically, culturally, and technologically. The rise of digital infrastructure has transformed how businesses, schools, and governments operate. Cities like St. Louis and Kansas City have emerged as centers of innovation, with growing technology sectors focused on biotechnology, agricultural technology, data science, and urban development. Kansas City has also become known for its investments in smart city initiatives and broadband expansion, while St. Louis has developed a growing startup ecosystem supported by universities and research institutions. Transportation remains one of Missouri's defining strengths. The state's extensive network of highways, railroads, airports, and river ports ensures its continued importance as a logistics hub. The Mississippi and Missouri rivers remain vital commercial waterways, supporting both domestic and international trade. Kansas City is one of the largest rail hubs in the United States, while St. Louis maintains strong air and river connections. This infrastructure reinforces Missouri's long-standing role as a central connector in national commerce. Despite economic and technological progress, Missouri faces ongoing challenges related to inequality and regional imbalance. Urban areas tend to attract more investment and population growth, while rural regions often experience population decline and reduced access to services. Issues such as healthcare access, education quality, infrastructure development, and broadband connectivity remain central policy concerns. These disparities reflect broader national trends but are particularly significant in Missouri due to its strong urban-rural divide. Healthcare is another important sector in Missouri's modern economy. Major medical centers in St. Louis and Kansas City provide advanced care and medical research, attracting patients and professionals from across the country. These institutions contribute significantly to both healthcare innovation and economic development. However, rural healthcare systems continue to face challenges related to staffing shortages, funding limitations, and geographic access, highlighting ongoing disparities in service provision. Culturally, Missouri remains vibrant and diverse. Music continues to be one of its most influential cultural exports, with strong traditions in blues, jazz, country, and gospel. Food culture, particularly barbecue traditions in Kansas City and regional cuisine in St. Louis, reflects both historical influences and contemporary innovation. Arts communities across the state contribute to literature, visual arts, theater, and public cultural events, supported by universities, cultural institutions, and local organizations. These cultural expressions help maintain Missouri's identity as a dynamic and evolving state. Environmental issues have become increasingly important in recent decades. Missouri's reliance on agriculture and river systems makes it particularly vulnerable to climate variability, including flooding, drought, and soil degradation. Efforts to promote sustainability include conservation programs, sustainable farming practices, and habitat restoration initiatives. These efforts aim to balance economic development with environmental protection, ensuring long-term stability for both rural and urban communities. Civic life in Missouri is characterized by strong local engagement and diverse political perspectives. Communities often play active roles in governance and decision-making, reflecting a tradition of local autonomy. At the same time, statewide political dynamics reflect a balance between urban and rural priorities, contributing to a complex and often divided political landscape. Public discourse frequently centers on issues such as economic development, education, healthcare, and infrastructure investment. Ultimately, Missouri's story is one of transformation, complexity, and continuity. From its indigenous roots and frontier expansion to its industrial growth and modern diversification, the state reflects many of the key themes of American history. Its present is defined by a blend of urban innovation, rural tradition, cultural richness, and economic transition. Its future will depend on how effectively it adapts to technological change, demographic shifts, and environmental challenges while preserving the strengths that have defined it for generations. Missouri remains a state shaped by its geography, its history, and its people, standing as both a crossroads of the nation and a reflection of the broader American experience. Thank you for watching this video.